Welcome to Assassin's Creed, the final part, where I said it was 18 minutes, but it's actually 24 because I lied, because I'm stupid.
Yep, and we're tackling Al Mualim in this particular part, which we've mentioned before, like the whole idea of Al Mualim's like loyalties. Like we don't like I'm always kind of confused as to whether he was a Templar initially, but he betrayed them and the assassins, but then at the same time he's the Grand Master of the Assassins and he has certain beliefs of the assassins. So like, was he an assassin? Then he betrayed them to join the Templars. Then the apple caused him to betray the Templars, or do you know the reason for that, Pcol?
It's still honestly confusing to me too, but I think he was an assassin that had more, like, ideals that were more in line with the Templars, and then the apple just corrupted him even more. But then Rogue has the stupid thing where it makes it out like he was a Templar all along instead of an assassin with Templar ideals.
Well, if you remember, like in this particular sequence, when we meet up with Malik in Masyaf, he mentions that Robert had left a journal in that temple from the first sequence of the game, and it mentions something about Al Mualim, as if like Al Mualim was collaborating with him the whole entire time, and Robert almost makes it out that Al Mualim was a Templar. You know?
See, that just makes it even more confusing because there's evidence for both sides.
Yeah, it's really puzzling. Like this character in particular is the most confusing character in all of Assassin's Creed history, if you ask me. At least in the games that matter, of course. I'm sure there are more confusing characters in Odyssey and the like, but of course that's just down to poor writing.
Well, the entirety of Odyssey is confusing.
Yeah, but this final sequence of the game, it has I personally like to replay this one because it's a short sequence and you can actually get straight to Al Mualim rather than having to do like investigative missions or have to do all these random tasks or just sit through cutscenes. You can just get straight to him immediately. And we're actually going to be tackling the assassins, and these assassins are hypnotized by the Piece of Eden. And they've been brought up to believe that Al Mualim is actually controlling them. And so they have this blind loyalty to Al Mualim, and so we're going to be taking them on here.
Yeah. And like Al Mualim actually like tried to like control Altair too in like an earlier sequence where he tried to show him the apple, but then like because of Altair's like first save DNA, he's like too strong to like see through it.
Yeah, and I think the other reason he states is that to rob him of control would have deprived him of the ability to get rid of the Templars, because Altair was so crucial to Al Mualim's plans to actually take out the Templars. He couldn't afford to have Altair controlled by the apple because it would have impacted his ability to get rid of the Templars, apparently.
And there was also an earlier sequence where like Al Mualim got angry at Altair and because he was like questioning him. He like tried to kill Altair again. And Altair was like, if you had another, you would have sent him long ago instead of me, or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's just... He does value Altair a lot more than the other assassins, it seems.
It's like even shown in Revelations too, a little bit. Like in the first Altair memory.
That looked very weird with that jumping animation where they just stopped in midair.
That happens in AC1 for some reason. It even happens with Altair. Like sometimes you just jump like to a building or something, and then the game just like completely stops all of your momentum and like forces you to fall like a rock. I don't know
weird.
What causes it to happen, but it happens to Altair all the time, and then it happens to these guys here.
I have to say, I don't recall that happening in the PS3 version so much.
I think I've had it happen in the PS3 version before, but I think it happens more to Altair than these characters.
Yeah, probably.
But it tends to happen a lot in the PC version for some reason, at least for me.
Also, it seemed like you had to kill more assassins to actually get Malik to spawn. I don't know if this is a time sequence or if you have to kill off a certain number of assassins.
I don't know either, but I think you have to kill a certain number.
Yeah, but yeah, this is the part where Malik is describing the journal that he found in Solomon's temple from the first sequence of AC1, and he's describing Al Mualim, and apparently that Robert had been maintaining contact with Al Mualim. It almost makes me wonder, like, the siege of Masyaf, when Al Mualim and Robert had almost been addressing each other as if they were not affiliated with each other. Do you think that was all part of some grand deception? You think maybe like
Well, if they really were working together, then it probably was deception. But like, since there's no conclusive evidence for either side, it just makes it more confusing.
Yeah, and also like from the start of AC1 to the end of AC1 for Altair's story, how much time passes?
I think AC1 is just all in 1191.
So it's just it takes place over a couple of months or a
Yeah,
couple of weeks because like
it is multiple months,
like
but it's all
what
in
if
November.
what if in some cases like depending on that lengthy time frame at some point like Robert and Amualin were actually maintaining contact with each other and just selling this grand deception. But then also at the same time, because the apple was in Al Mualim's possession, it corrupted him, and so Al Mualim saw that as a way to further this way of actually getting rid of Robert and his followers. Like, I'm just putting a theory out there. It's like this is really puzzling with this character. Now, I don't even think the Wikipedia even clarifies it properly.
Yeah, I don't even know, cause like there's no evidence in like this game or in any other games. Cause after AC1, Al Mualim is like barely mentioned except for like that one thing in Rogue.
Yeah, and then like in Revelations, Altair refers to Al Mualim as just an ordinary man in command of illusions, not necessarily an evil sorcerer, like he was a traitor to the Order. It's it's one of the most confusing parts right here, and this is very funny as well. So I don't know why, like Al Mualim at this point is done with Altair, but he still doesn't try to keep Altair restrained in order to stab him somehow. That's a little confusing, and even though Altair has first Civ DNA, apparently he's still susceptible to these other abilities that the Apple has, like being able to essentially restrain these individuals. I mean, it seems like Altair, like people with first Civ DNA are resilient to the Piece of Eden's mind-altering effects, but
Yeah.
not necessarily like the physical abilities.
Well, I don't think it makes them completely immune. I think it just makes them like way more resistant than most other people.
Hmm. Yeah, and I believe based
Because
on
like even
evidence.
Desmond had like a lot of first Civ DNA, but like at the end of Brotherhood, he was still controlled by the Apple from Juno.
Well, that was different though. Like Juno wasn't controlling all these other individuals when they fell victim to the apple, but I guess in Desmond's case, because of the fact that Desmond had like first Civ DNA, and he was already within the Temple of Juno, which is where her consciousness would have likely been at her highest. That's why it was a unique exception. So I think he still has like that immunity to the Apple's influence, but with Juno's influence, it was more so Juno was controlling him, not really the Apple. So it's not really like the same kind of control system, basically. But right here, Al Mualim is using illusions of all the Templars that you've killed in order to attack Altair. And I still don't understand why Al Mualim doesn't just try to kill Altair straight up. He just tries to get him to fight all these minions.
I feel like he's like testing him or something to like see if he's like worthy of like leading alongside him or something. I don't even know.
Yeah, or maybe it's just like to even actually no, that doesn't make any sense because like Rodrigo Borgia would have done it. I mean, he restrained Ezio with the Staff of Eden and was able to use a knife at the same time. So yeah, it's a little confusing as to what Altair, what
Well, like,
Al Mualim is doing here.
maybe he still also wants Altair alive, so he can like try to use him, like he was using him for the entire game or something. I don't even know. Also, this is a thing I do here where I just use Eagle Vision to cheat and see which one is actually real.
Yeah, that's I always thought you just had to kill off a certain number of illusions, but I didn't realize the real one was in there.
It's
Yeah.
always just you have to find the real one.
Yeah, and this is my favorite piece of dialogue from Altair and Al Mualim when they're actually like talking with each other, and he's like, "You lied to me. Said Ribera's goal was foul when all along it was yours as well." And then you hear all this other stuff about illusions and like Red Sea never parted, water never turned to wine. It was not the machinations of Ares that spawned the Trojan War, but this illusions, all of them. It's one of my favorite pieces of dialogue from Altair and Al Mualim, and it definitely mixes one of my favorite sequences in the game, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me wish this game had subtitles so you can like actually like read the like writing.
I mean, I think maybe PC mods might make that a thing for all we know.
Well, like people barely mod Assassin's Creed.
Pretty much. But yeah, we're still talking with Amualim right here. Like this dialogue never gets old. And I know Laser Z favors the voice acting of this version of Altair rather than Revelations Altair. But I feel like the Revelations voice actor really captures the seriousness of this scene, or like just the seriousness of Altair in general. And plus, I like that it's more in line with the ethnicity of Altair. I mean, that's. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to hate this version of Altair with this American accent, but it does feel kind of off-putting from the rest of the environment. I don't know how you
Yeah,
feel about
like
that.
I don't know why they chose to do an American accent. Like I know the reason why they chose to do British accents in France for Unity was because they thought people would be stupid and not understand French accents. But like that's a completely stupid reason, and another reason like that doesn't relate to this at all.
Yeah, and then they also use like British terms as well. Like I think isn't jackanape a British terminology, not like
I
a French
don't know.
terminology? Yeah,
I'm American. I'm not British.
yeah. Oh, this dialogue as well. Like I can't hear any audio right now, but I can just envision the scene very well. Like
Yeah.
at least they choose these phantoms, and then like Al Mualim is talking about how this apple could pretty much end the Crusades, but in a manner that pretty much creates another equivalent to the Crusades, I would imagine. Like it's pretty much that irony to like the Templar ideology. Like it's really where Al-Mualim feels more like a
Yeah.
Templar in this case, where they would try to create this new kind of world that they feel is better than the old world when it's going to be equally as bad as the
Yeah.
old world.
And like in real history, the Crusades still going after this because this is set in the Third Crusade, but I'm pretty sure in real history there was actually like six.
Oh, I didn't actually know that. I always thought there was just one massive crusade.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they
I
say like
think
Third Crusade, but like, oh wow!
yeah,
I thought you had to actually like spin around and he would just lose you after a while. But you can just do that.
I run around him to get behind him so I could do that.
Yeah, that is really cool. A student does not defeat the master. So it would seem. Yeah, that's where
the
he.
reason why I wanted subtitles in this game so you can actually understand what he says there, because that's the
Yeah.
only time in this game anyone speaks anything other than English.
Yeah, that is true. This dialogue just never gets so like what happened to Assassin's Creed, man? Just what happened to it with this kind of interesting storyline?
Too freaking greedy and like they got too horny for money and they're stupid. They
Yeah, but
tried
that's
to appeal
just
to the cringe fan base of like stupid Gen Z people who don't understand like what fucking makes something good.
yeah, it's just part of the business model of gaming. Like they have to sacrifice this level of quality that the older Assassin's Creed game have, and
Like
they have to favor a model that's more appealing to a wider audience, and not necessarily the Assassin's Creed fan. Because back then, as LaserC described, the older Assassin's Creed games were sort of niche titles, like not following trends. Like Assassin's Creed had a name for itself, but because following trends is more beneficial to the business model, that's why they had to sacrifice character development. That's why they had to make the characters seem like idiots. That's why they had to dumb down the story.
They try to appeal to everyone instead of just appealing to one certain audience.
Yeah, and it sucks, but that's just the nature of gaming at this point. I mean, that's how it was back in the olden days. I don't know why people say that gaming back then was not about the business model, because it totally was. It's just at the time the business opportunities were very different back then compared to how they are now.
And people were a lot more willing to like not follow the trends.
Yeah, but this right here, that's Alan Rickon, right?
Yeah.
And who are those other guys? So,
That bald guy instead of Jeremy Irons.
yeah, that literally looks like a picture, like a 2D image. I mean, I guess they're moving a bit, but like, it just looks kind of odd that you just stand there, just perfectly still. But do you know what they're talking about in this scene?
They're just talking about like the map that they found and like trying to make sure like they get all the pieces of Eden that are on the map and like try to excavate the sites.
Do you know which sites they talk about in particular in the scene?
I don't think there's like specific ones other than like the Masyaf one.
And also, do they talk about the satellite in this scene?
No, I don't think
No?
so.
Okay. But this scene is where, this is where the game will end on a cliffhanger, because in this scene, because of the bleeding effect generated by the Animus, Desmond gains access to Eagle Vision, so you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of glyphs left behind by Subject 16 inscribed in his blood. So, and there's actually meaning behind these glyphs, and I only just found about it today when my friend showed me. But some of the glyphs that Subject 16 left behind actually relate to the story, because each individual glyph actually has relevance to some main aspect of the story, like the Eye of Providence, or like the barcode you get with 2012, and that the world will end on 2012 if Desmond doesn't do anything, or I don't remember what other glyphs have special significance behind them. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a series of letters arranged in a square that when you read from right to left and then bottom to top, they actually say something.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Yonaguni is like a Japanese thing that I don't understand because I'm not Japanese.
Wow. Oh wow, and I think that's the
like a pyramid or something. Those are like Mount Fuji, I think, which I think
Mount Fuji.
is like meant to like show that like there might be a piece of Eden there.
Yeah. Didn't they already? I think they verified that there was a piece of Eden in Mount Fuji.
Yeah. That's like the monkey from like the Nazca lines, and like the barcode. And this is the pyramid thing is the thing where you have to read it from like a certain direction, like bottom to top and right to left.
Yeah, almost like the Hebrew alphabet, because I know, like in Hebrew, I believe you have to read the letters in Hebrew from right to left to actually understand what word they're saying.
I know one of the glyphs is Hebrew letters, but I don't remember if it's in this room or in the bedroom.
What's that? Those three circles?
Like, I think it's like connecting lines to like show unity or something.
Unity, and then there was a spider there. I'm not sure what the spider's for.
They're fucking Nazca lines. They're like a real world like thing you can go find in like Brazil or something, or like they're like random lines drawn in the dirt that like some people were think like were left here by like aliens or something. Like people don't understand how they got made.
What is it called again?
Nazca lines, Nazca.
Ah, okay. And
you can Google that.
Oh, and there's the Temple of Eden, right?
Yeah.
The Pyramid of Eden.
The Pyramid of Eden with the apple above it, because that's like meant to show like the satellite thing with like them controlling the minds of everyone of the apple, like by sending it into space.
Ah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we have a couple more symbols here. Like, there's so many.
It's like the Eye of Horus and the Pyramids of Giza.
Yeah, which actually relate to Origins, or like where a piece of Eden is.
Yeah,
right.
Except Origins wasn't even like conceived at this time.
Yeah, and I don't think we ever really get the piece of Eden from the temple, or I'm sorry, not the temple, the pyramids. We get it from somewhere else. Like the temple under Siwa is where we get the piece of Eden.
Well, the temple under Siwa is where like a different like piece of Eden map is, but I don't think you get the apple in Siwa in Origins.
Yeah, but this is where the game actually ends when we examine this wall, and that's a Lorenz attractor. It's like those two eyes right there, those two spirals. It's actually part of I think it's part of chaos theory. I could be wrong, or it's like I know it's a crucial aspect in mathematics.
Yeah. And 2213 is a verse from the Bible or something, and there's like an omega symbol.
Ah, okay. Yeah, but that is the end of this game, and so I'm still like I haven't done AC2 in a while. It's been like almost a year, I would say, maybe like a couple of months since we did that part 2 of AC2.
AC2 before we even did AC1.
Yeah, before we decided to change things a little bit and just we do AC1 first, then we do AC2, and also I was doing other things at the time. But we're going to be getting back to AC2. In fact, you know, like given that today we have a lot of free time, we might even get started on AC2 right now. In fact, I've even recorded back to the point where we last left off at the beginning of Monteregione, because we were having like a lot of commentary issues, given that like we had like a lot of connection issues, but hopefully we can rectify that. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, just to give some final thoughts on this game has a great story. But is it fun to replay? I mean, if you're going from a new game, yes. But when you're replaying each individual sequence, it can be a little tedious, and the side activities are a little mundane, or not little mundane. They are mundane for sure. Yeah.
Like they basically give you nothing. But like, I feel like something weird that a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually like replay memories in this game. But then they for some reason took it out of AC2 and then they reintroduced it in Brotherhood for the full sync stuff.
Yeah, I think it was mainly because of the format they wanted to go for with AC2, where it feels like a no, that's not a good reason. But I mentioned before that with the way AC2 doesn't allow you to replay the sequences, it almost benefits this whole idea of each individual sequence feeling like one massive memory,
Yeah,
rather than just a bunch of individual memories, and so you don't get the player to think of the memories like that. That's what
it's like
allows it to give it a more
it's like the
cohesiveness.
arcs. It's like the arcs in Valhalla, but done a lot better.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with the arcs in Valhalla, but so many of them are so negligible. Really, the only ones I remember are like East Anglia, Gloucestershire, London, and that's it.
Yeah, and like most of them like were just so forgettable, and like even the main ones are forgettable because
Mm.
the game is just so bad, and like most of the stuff in Valhalla is just like side content forced as main content.
Yeah, well, at least they acknowledge that, unlike with Origins and Odyssey, where they designate these certain missions as side missions, but because of the way the leveling worked, you were forced to do a lot of mindless side missions to even contribute to the main story. Because if you were under leveled, you didn't stand a chance, because that was how so like reliant upon the RPG designs they were. That's how over reliant they were with the RPG designs in Origins and Odyssey, and it really made the pacing of those games awful.
Yeah,
Yeah. But this game was definitely like the first beginning of a very niche series, and then they lost it all with AC Unity and Rogue.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
I think they actually like started making Unity around like Revelations or like AC3 or something. But like just because you make a game for a long time doesn't mean it's automatically gonna be good.
yeah, I know. Just look at Resident Evil Village. I mean, I don't know when they started development, but it feels like they started development at Resident Evil 7, or I'm sorry, Resident Evil Village, like after Resident Evil 3, man, because that's how rushed that game feels. And there's so many like plot holes that just violate the lore in Resident Evil 7. And ironically, the director of Resident Evil Village is the same guy that wrote Resident Evil 7 story. So how did he make these mistakes in the story? It makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like even Darby McDevitt, like he wrote the main story for Valhalla, but like there's still a lot of dumb things in Valhalla just because like there's so many dumb things that Assassin's Creed does now that they just make a lot of plot holes and then say like, oh, a piece of Eden did it or something, and then or like don't explain it at all.
Yeah, but I will say though, that additional piece of information he gave to Desmond when he was talking about the ironies of the Creed, and also with fleshing out Ezio's story with how he felt when he left Cappadocia, when he felt like he had given up on the Creed, those were really important pieces of information and important pieces of lore in AC Valhalla for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm just checking emails here just to make sure there wasn't any like that show up after the credits, and I don't think there is, but I just
yeah.
wanted to make sure.
But yeah, we only have a minute left in this video, but we'll be getting straight to AC2 likely today if we both
Yeah,
have the time. And yeah, we'll be enjoying that game for sure because AC2
yeah,
is so much fun.
yeah, and I'm gonna start recording Brotherhood soon because that's gonna be next on my channel, at least for dual commentary stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm actually gonna be able to record that on a console this time because I don't want to play it on PSD, and I want to play on the remastered version, which is apparently coming to Switch for some reason. I don't know why,
why not, dude?
because it's not gonna run well on Switch, and
But,
they're just releasing it on Switch just for money because they know people are gonna buy it.
hey, at least it's accessible to a wider audience. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but the Switch is also a lot less powerful, so it's not gonna run as well, and it's not gonna play as well. So people are gonna be getting an inferior version.
To be fair though, it's probably a lot more powerful than the PS3 and Xbox 360
I
maybe.
mean, it is, but like, it's not as powerful as like the PS4 and Xbox One, which the remastered versions are already released on.
Yeah, but if they end up looking like the PS3 releases, that's fine. I don't
Well, they're
care.
not gonna look like the PS3 releases. They're gonna look like the PS4 version, but like worse.
Yeah, but whatever. And looks like we've gone over the time right now, so we'll have to put a black box after the
Yeah.
24-minute and 51-second mark. But yeah, that is the end of this dual commentary of AC1, and so glad that we finally managed to achieve it after so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I
But
recorded these like last three sequences like all in like 1 or 2 days just because I wanted to get this over with.
yeah, and we talked about a lot of things not related to Assassin's Creed and things that were related to Assassin's Creed, and we're hoping to do the same thing for AC2. Of course, with
Yeah.
AC2 and the other games, it's going to be live playthroughs. It's not like with AC1 where we're going to have a pre-recorded video and just talk over it. We're actually going to be doing live commentary for that.
I mean, if we
But
can figure out how that works.
well, we already did it in the previous part, so we know how to do that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
at least for my end, because share play doesn't like to work for me.
Well, we're using share screen though, not share play, so it's a little different.
Oh damn. Well,
Yeah. But yeah, stay tuned for our AC2 dual commentary, guys. Thank you all
yeah.
for watching, and you guys take care now.
And have fun with Brotherhood when we get to that.
For sure. See you all.